Well, I think it's pretty fair to say from the last session that we did, you were a little bit stitched up in your swim.
I'll go with face up then.
Face down. Well, I think you're going to have to move your barrow.
Yeah, so as you can see, I've got the poke hole here, which I feel like I've been stitched up a little bit, but you know.
Well, I think it's fair to say, following on from the last verses I did with Simon, he was a little bit stitched up.
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed with my swim choice.
Yeah. So the lens flip was fortunate in my favour last time, and I think if it was the other way around, I would have been the one stuck in that swim, scratching my head for trying to get a bite. So it wasn't that fair, and a few of you commented that as well, thinking that Simon Fairplay did as best he could, but I think the fish just weren't there. If they're not there, you're not going to catch them.
It was super hot, wasn't it? And they weren't really playing ball anyway.
Yeah. So we've come to a different venue. This is actually somewhere you've fished before. So do you want to introduce?
Yeah, this is Barron's Pond, which is sort of in Hampshire. So quite handy really, because I got the ferry over to Portsmouth. It's about an hour for me and about 2 hours for you, was it? So nice and local-ish for us, and quite well stocked, I think. So got a good chance of a few fish in February, which we are now.
Yeah, it's a lovely, intimate little venue. We've already spoken to Ross, one of the bailiffs here. So he's given us a few pointers of hot spots, what to look for, the sort of makeup of the bomb, the stock levels, and it's pretty decent, to be fair. I think it's over 20s.
I think he said something like 40, 20s.
It might be more than that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Good stamp of fishing here. It is February, but it's been quite mild the last few days. So we're hoping things are going to be in our favour for this session.
Yeah, it's a bit different to when we got together last time.
It is
30 degrees.
But we've got to do the trusty lens flip. Now, the swim we're in is Peg 2, it's called on this lake. That is correct, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you can kind of fish it from various different points. You're on a spit of land here, so you've got the left-hand round swim all the way around into in front of us and behind us. But I think both of us are quite keen on one swim again in particular. Well, you're not as fast.
We'll see.
There's a nice island to the left part of this swim, and then the other one's predominantly open water and maybe far margin work and things. But we've got to do the lens flip. I'll let you call it. That's up and down.
Okay.
That's
so
not the flip.
So I'll say down then. Oh, it's up, isn't it? Oh, what are you going with?
Well, I'm going to go left swim just because I've already said I like to fish to features. There's an island, quite a nice bay that's on the slack of the wind, which I like the look of.
Fair enough.
But for my little discussion, you're not that fussed. I think you were going to choose here.
To be honest, I think, I would have preferred the right hand just because I've fished it before and caught from there. But I have caught from the left-hand side as well, so
perfect.
We've both got a fair chance.
We're both happy then?
Yep. Let's see what happens.
What's the time? I haven't got a watch on, so I've got to check. How about we call it?
Sort of 10 to 12.
Half 12 start?
Yeah, we could do, yeah.
Cool, let's get going. Well, that's half 12, so I'll give you the advantage of casting out first.
Thank you very much.
Your venue, you casting out first.
Oh, this excuse is coming early, isn't it?
Well, just lay the land, just setting it all out.
I only just hit the clip there.
I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah, I'd be reeked. Might redo it in a couple of hours if nothing's happening.
I've literally just stuck my rods out and you're already in.
Yeah, it didn't take long, mate. Doesn't feel like a big fish, but it's nice to get a bend in the rod at this time of year.
Now we do know there's all sorts of fish in here, so could be tench, crucian.
It feels not like a broom, but not like a big carp either. No, it's probably just a small carp, isn't it? I think. Yeah, it looks all right.
Nice.
Nice and
good
dark.
sign though, this early on.
Yeah. Yeah, what was that, about half an hour's
Yeah.
fishing? All right, he's about ready, I think. Spoke too soon.
Getting flashbacks of you trying to bump my fish off from the woodside.
Yeah.
Trying to bump your own fish off.
There we go. In the net, come on. Good start, Joe. And I make that 1-0.
Yeah. It's a good sign of things to come if it's that soon.
Yeah. Might be the only one yet, you never know. Should we have a look at what we got?
Well, we haven't even had a chance to film Simon's yet. Just been getting the rod sorted out. I actually had a drop back on this rod, so we thought we'll get both of our rods sorted before we film the fish. And I haven't even had a chance to film it yet because my island rod's just gone off. I gotta say, it feels all right so far. It's just going around into Simon's swim, so I've got to be careful it doesn't go around the platform, which it looks like he's trying to do. Might have to net this in your swim. It will still count as mine, won't it? He's right in front of your swim.
You're trying to sabotage it again.
That's it. I think there's going to be like ounces between our weights here. Oh, and he's in. Maybe a bit smaller than yours. 1-1, but it's all about the weight. Sweet.
Cool.
Pretty. Well, what a manic little first hour to the match that was.
Yeah, really good start, mate.
We've both got our rods back out, but we have weighed these, and you've just edged me.
Yeah, mine was 12.10. And what was yours, Joe?
£9.4.
So in the lead.
I think
by
I
a
do
little
just
bit.
about have you by looks and wriggly level. But a very welcome start.
Yeah,
Get
happy
these
days.
back, and I think there should be more to come. All being well.
Nice.
Sweet.
There we go.
Go on, get your nose out. It's meant to be seamless. Well, unfortunately, exactly what we didn't want to happen has happened. It's gone very, very quiet since the two fish. Often when you have fish early on, you think, happy days, it's going to carry on in the same way, and especially as it's fish from completely different parts of the lake. We thought there might be a sign of the afternoon to come, but maybe it's just those initial bites, getting rigs in a spot where some fish might have been. Still very confident, getting the odd little liners here and there. Fish is starting to show a bit. It's coming into early evening now, actually. I thought I'd show you through the tactic I'm using, which has got me my fish, and I think it's very similar to Simon's, which we'll go through in a minute, because the rules on this place kind of dictates what rigs you're going to use anyway, because there's a complete ban on braid, and that includes hook links. So that meant I've gone down a fluorocarbon hook link, and the hook link has to be of a weaker breaking strain to your main line. My main line's £16, and I think this fluoro is 15, so I'm just in that rule there. And I've got this £15 fluorocarbon, probably 7-8 inches in length, with a size 4 curved shank hook and a bait screw just to put a little 12mm wafter on. That's a little citrus wafter, and to cover the hook point and make sure that's sitting down or going down really nice and safe on the bottom, because there's a bit of silt in this lake and some twigs and things. I've never fished it before, but that just gives you a bit of reassurance that your hook point's not going to be masked by anything. And that's just full of pellet, little bit of putty, inch or so back from the hook. I just always put that on there on any of my rigs. It helps to drop it down a little bit more. And then an anti-tangle sleeve. The actual hooking side of things, or the bolt effect, is a lead clip setup, but I haven't put the little bung in there which secures the lead clip to the swivel. Instead, it's got the resistance of the swivel, and then it will pull free. So you've got that initial bolt effect that will put the hook into the fish's mouth, but then there's no pivot point for the fish to deject. What word am I trying to think of here? Eject, something like that. I don't know what I was looking for, what word there, but it can't eject the rig because it's got no pivot point or anything to use to remove that hook point. And also because the venue is barbless rule, I thought going down the running rig setup just should hopefully help in eradicating any kind of dropped rigs. And then that lead clip can still come off, or the tail rubber can still come off, so the lead can come free if it does get snagged up on anything. And then tubing is also one of the rules on here. You can't use lead core or anything, or lead-free stuff's got to be tubing, and that just runs up and down the line, also comes away from that tail rubber. So it's pretty much one of the safest methods you can fish. Everything comes clear of itself, but it's still hooking the fish, and so far it's so good. That's a bite each, and let's put that back in. And Simon has also had one, and I think very similar tactics when it comes to the rigs, but he's using a slightly different lead arrangement. So We'll move over to him in a second. And the only other thing to note is that I'm using the baiting bowl and Simon is casting. And in the baiting spoon, I'm putting sweet corn with a bit of ground bait, really, really basic. And I put some Scope It Squid spod syrup in there and also some of the worm cell, which is one of the newer liquids that they've brought out. And that is just really, really stinky. I can't say it's a nice smell, and you would agree with me on that one. But that bite that I did have came very, very quickly after putting the spoon out there. So whether it was the pungent bait and the visual aspect, or just I dropped the rig on its nose, I don't know. But it's done me one fish so far, but I am a couple pound behind. So going into the evening, hopefully this will do me 1 or 2 more fish. But let's head over to Simon's swim and see exactly how he's fishing.
Right, so Joe showed you his rig. I thought I'd run you through mine quickly as well. The actual rig is the same as Joe. I've got a D rig there. I'm using amnesia instead of fluorocarbon just because that's what I've used for the last couple of years and it's done me well. Barbless hook, as that are the rules on this venue. And I'm using a hardened hook bait there, topped off with half a yellow pop-up. Just for a little bit of visual aspect. The bailiff said that yellow's been doing well on here. And obviously it gives you a bit of buoyancy, so it's more like a wafter really. A little bit of putty in the middle just to keep it pinned down and also drop the hook in the fish's mouth. And that's going on to an inline setup which is semi-fixed so it can pull out. And what I've got there, I don't know how well you can see that, but a little bit of mono just as a tag which goes inside the lead. The idea behind that is if you get a boat, it takes, you know, a few bleeps and you think it might have been a liner, when you wind in, if that bit of mono is sticking out, you know that a fish has pulled it from the rig end and you know you've been done. So you might need to shorten your rig or, you know, change rigs altogether. It just gives you that indication of what's going on when you're getting a few bleeps. And that goes up to a bit of tubing just to help pin it down and protect the fish. I think Joe said earlier that leaders are banned on here, so we're using tubing. And that should just go and sit nicely like that on the bottom. And then onto that, I'm just putting a little PVA bag of Boilies, which has just got a little sort of fuse on there, a little tag end of PVA. So you can wrap that around, make sure your hook bait doesn't snag on the point. And it just gives you a little bit of attraction around the rig and stops tangles as well. So that's my setup. And that's what's done with my fish. My other rod I did have on a sort of a match the hatch setup without the yellow bit on there, and that didn't do me any bites. So I've now put them both out on yellow, just for a confidence thing really. So hopefully it'll get me a few more bites. As we're coming into darkness now, it's when we'll be expecting to get a few fish. Joe just went off around the lake to film a few shots, and Sod's Law, one of my rods is gone. And we're playing fish number 2, so happy days. Feels a little bit bigger than the other one, but then it's hard to tell really until we actually see it. But it's the same rod, interestingly, as the other one that went. So maybe I need to move my other one a bit closer. I haven't seen it yet, so don't know how big it is or anything. Might just get that rod underneath. It's amazing how well they fight for such small fish, really. Probably only scrape a double, isn't it? So I went round and put a little bit more bait out about half an hour, 45 minutes ago, and that seems to have done the trick. So I think after this fish, I might go do the same. Yes, come on. 2-1, Joe. Yeah, it does look nice. Your rod will go in a minute as well, I'm sure.
Well, you couldn't write it. Simon's only just sorted his rod, put his rod back out whilst letting his fish rest, just like we did with the first fish. And my island rod's gone off. So was that the same rod for you that went off?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And it's the same rod for me that's gone off within 15 minutes of each other again. Feels very small. It is very small, it's a little common. but they all count. Well, your fish is definitely bigger than that one, and you're already ahead, but if I didn't have this, I'd be even further behind, so I've got a spare rod ready to go back out, but I think we need to film the fish before it gets dark. That's annoying.
What are you guessing?
It's probably about the same size as your first one, isn't it?
I reckon tiny bit smaller, maybe like
11,
11 or
14.
You weren't far off. It's halfway between 11 and a half and 12. So what's that, about 11, 14?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is 11, 14. Exactly what you said. Right, here we go. My second fish of the session. Only a small one, but absolutely stunning, I think you'll agree. £11.14 this one. It's pretty lively. Doesn't want to behave for the camera. But yeah, look at that. Imagine that when it's £30, you'd be well happy to catch that. But to be honest, I am happy in February to catch fish like this. And they do go quite a lot bigger in this lake, so I'm hoping tonight or tomorrow morning we might get one of the bigger ones to show you, because that would be quite something at this time of year. Just gorgeous. Caught on the same rod as the other one. So I'm thinking I might move my left-hand rod because that's not produced anything yet. I'm going to go around and put a little bit more bait out there. And yeah, hopefully we'll have a few more of these. So I'll get this fish back and then Joe's going to show you his one. Happy days.
He's pooing out corn. He's obviously eating it.
Yeah.
Well, the positive is he's crapping out sweet corn, which is what I'm feeding him with. The unfortunate news is it's not even helped me get closer, because although it's the second fish, so I suppose it helps, Simon's was bigger, his second one was bigger. I actually just noticed he's got a completely black eye on this side. Oh, look.
Yeah.
But that's, what did we say, £8.6. I think I said this was. It's still very welcome. And going into the evening, hopefully the fish start waking up. From Simon's previous experience, it does quite a lot of night bites. Let's get this little chub back, common back, and hopefully close the gap. Well, it'd be rude not to sample the ciders you've brought down for me, and Stowford Press is one that I do enjoy.
It's one of my favourites.
I've got to say, it goes down well after a tough day's fishing. It's been full on. It always is with these matches. Everything just starts so quickly, and then
Yeah.
caught fairly consistently since the rods went out. But I suppose.
And ducks and roach and stuff as well.
So a little update since you last saw the fish. I had another one right on dark after putting the bait back out with a spoon. Went off before it was even on the rest. I saw the rod twitch. I was like, what's going on there? And sure enough, there's a fish on there. Thought it was exactly the same fish I just put back, that common, but it wasn't. It was actually, I think, just under a pound smaller. So we'll go through the weights.
Yeah.
Because it is very, very close. And I've also then foul hooked a roach in the peck on the same rod.
Which doesn't count.
It doesn't count, but it means I've shipped that rig out on the spoon, I don't know, about 4 times in the last hour and a half. It's getting a bit tiring.
It's quite hard in the dark as well.
Yes, it is indeed. So you've had two, £12.10 and £11.14, which brings you to £24.8. I've had a £9.4, and you'll see my weights decrease. I'm hoping they'll stop decreasing soon. So I've had a £9.4, £8.6, and then a £7.10, which brings me to £25.4. So going into the first evening, it's just coming up 7 o'clock, I am 12 ounces ahead. If that roach just counted, I think that would have been about bang on 12 ounces.
Maybe, yeah.
So it's very, very close. It could swing very, very quickly with one small fish, but there are bigger ones in here, as we said.
Yeah.
I think one big one could be the sort of thing that clinches it for one of us.
Yeah,
consistently catch
generally when I've been here before, most of the bites have been through the night. Like, it's nice to have some in the daytime because I've not actually had that before on here. So quite possibly, you know, the next sort of 3 or 4 hours, we could have a couple of fish.
Could be.
And it could swing the scores either way. We never know, really.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to stay as it is. And I think if we can keep on catching the same sort of stamp and maybe one big fish each, it's going to be within a few
It's going to be close, I think. Yeah.
It could completely swing, but it's just bizarre how, this is something we was talking about a second ago with one of the bailiffs. Your first bite went off, and within 10, 15 minutes, mine went off.
Yeah.
Same rods again, a couple hours later, went off, and then 10, 15 minutes later, mine went off.
It's weird. It's like a switch goes and they feed and then they go off again, don't they? Yeah.
But they've also, the second lots of bites came after an introduction of bait we found.
Yeah.
You put some boilies in, so
makes a difference, definitely.
you had a bite and I copied you and pinged out a few boilies, which I managed to grab off the bailiff actually, because I didn't bring any boilies, I'm mainly fishing corn.
Schoolboy.
But just, I think that sound, a little trickle, a bit of bait, from what we've heard, that's what a lot of people's tactics are on here, is really
boilies.
small amounts over the spot. And that's done us the trick so far. So going into the evening, hopefully a few more bites. We'll show you anything of decent size. I'm sure if we catch a few more tiddlers, we might not set the cameras up with a video light, but if by morning the scores are the same, I'll be very, very surprised. We're battling the battery on the video light. We may not have long, but there's another fish from me, and I think this is fish number 6 since we last saw you. I've had quite a few more singles, and finally had a double on this one. If you see it again in a second when the video light comes back on, it's 13 pound on the nose, which I think puts me about 31 pound 8 ounce into the lead. So it's actually still quite a slender lead for the amount of fish I've had. So it can very much change very quickly. Apologies for the strobes, we should have put a warning at the start. But yeah, let's get him back and hopefully they continue to stay this size and bigger. Lights out. Oh, that was good timing. Good morning.
Morning.
Could have said good morning to you about 4 or 5 times last night.
Yeah.
It was a restless one, let's put it that way. Unfortunately, not so much in your swim. I said, unfortunately for you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened, to be honest. I had 2 fish fairly quick, and then it just went quiet in my swim. I had a couple of liners, but I think they must have moved off that far margin, and I did put one in open water to try and get something, but nothing came along.
Well, I think your words were probably, a pub chuck has worked for you, so I'm going to try it. So the first bite last night, I think.
Oh, left-hand rod, that's on the outer. He's away. So I spin this one round?
Yep, I'm in. I was half the time in.
Yeah, mega.
And this one has done absolutely nothing all day. It did all the bites yesterday, and then last night the margin rod, which is the one I put down there, went off. Nearly took the rod off the rest. Those butt rests, if you need, or butt grips, if you need something that holds onto your rod in a snaggy situation, that was holding onto that rod for dear life, because it pinged off the alarm and was facing that way. It was only a small common, I think, and then I was too tired to be bothered to use the pole to ship it down and everything, so I just pub chucked this straight out. And I ended up having 2 or 3 more fish from open water, and this one's just gone off. So I'm actually on 7 carp now. This would be my 8th if I get it in. And I think, from what I worked out, I was about 64, 68 pound ahead. And this is hopefully gonna make that gap a bit wider, but it's bizarre how this island rod done nothing all night. Now it's a bit brighter. Fish maybe have come back to that spot. Doesn't feel particularly big, but I shouldn't be surprised because my average size has been about 8 pounds. But a morning bite before I finish my coffee is always welcome. It's coming in like a wet sock. I feel like it's going to suddenly kick.
Go on the bream.
It's like a 6 pound common again. Now, although there are plenty of bigger fish in here, I think it's safe to say that mid-February, just had a bit of warm weather, the first carp to wake up have been the smaller ones. But this will be the 8th fish before 24 hours is up in February. I don't think anyone can complain at that sort of action. And they may be small, but all those little weights are adding up. But it does mean that my weight isn't that unobtainable to catch up. If Simon has a good morning, catching a few doubles, maybe a 20 or so, it could swing back. Just have a quick check of his face. Is he feeling that way or not? Do you think you'll catch up?
I'm still smiling, but my head might have gone a little bit now.
This makes up my mind. I was going to leave this. Actually, I put bait out again.
Oh yeah,
10 minutes
boilies.
ago.
Yeah.
Forgot that. So I just pinged a few boilies out over this, and that's the 3rd time now. A little introduction of bait has just spurred on a bite. So they must be zoned into that sort of sound, because a lot of other people fish that way down here. A few boilies on a rod. If it's not doing anything, it gets them a bite. So interesting, that's the tactic that seems to be working. So it might be worth you doing that first before you recast.
Yeah, I was thinking again, putting a few boilies over there. Annoyingly, I've got to walk round because it's a bit further over that far side. You can just catapult them, can't you?
Ooh.
He don't want to give up, does he?
No. Bit of a better size combo.
Lovely little dark one, isn't it?
Go on then. There we go. Oh.
Go on.
Fish number 8. Right, where's that coffee? I haven't finished it yet. There's the first bite of the morning, and I've actually been followed up very quickly by bite number 10. So 10 fish in February, very welcome. The next one we're not going to film because it's probably several pounds smaller than this one. Still immaculate, and we were just saying to Simon that if you're going to catch fish this size, at least they are absolutely stunning, immaculate condition, lovely colours, and very welcome in February. So get this one back, top the scores again, I'm afraid, Simon, and get a rod back out, because at the moment I have got both of them out, but I might move one of them because it's not done anything since last night. Very welcome. Get a few pictures and stick him back.
Right, so we've got about 3 hours left to go, and I'm still stuck on 2 fish, unfortunately. Joe tried to cheat by saying he's had 10 fish, but it's actually only 9 fish, so yeah, don't listen to everything that he says. But he is £62 ahead, which is quite embarrassing, so as nothing's happening for me, I'm going to make a bit of a change, and I'm going to try a pop-up on one rod, just because, you know, I've been fishing these little D rigs with little snowmen, sort of wafted presentations, and I think there's a little bit of chod and stuff out on the bottom out there. I've been bringing back a few little black bits on the rigs when I've been winding in. So a little pop-up might just be the thing that gets me a bonus couple of fish, and you know, if they're decent sized fish, there's a half chance that I might sort of catch up. So that's my plan. I'm going to put a little hinge stiff rig out there. I'm just tying one up now. You're not allowed braid on here. Normally I'd use like a withy pool rig with braid, but because it's mono only, I'm going to use a hinge stiff rig. Little size 5 sort of barbless chod hook and a bit of amnesia for a boom, and a little probably yellow pop-up, and yeah, see what happens. In the last 3 hours, hopefully I can pull another couple of fish out of the bag, and one of the bigger ones would be a nice consolation. Even if I don't win the match, you know, it'd be nice to get one of the bigger ones. So yeah, I'll get this tied up and get it out there, and hopefully it makes all the difference.
So you're sticking with yellow despite 8 of my 9 fish being on pink.
To be honest, the bailiff told me yellow is good, and I've had my fish on yellow, so you know, there's a good chance it will work again if it's worked already. But yeah, now you've said that, I'm doubting myself. So.
Trying to get in your head.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to stick with yellow because I've caught on it. So see what happens.
I heard that coming from your bivvy last night as well.
What, sorry?
I heard that coming from your bivvy last night as well.
That's why you couldn't sleep.
Cool.
With just a couple hours left to go of the match now, and I've just repositioned the left rod down in the left margin, which did do me a bite in the middle of the night last night. Didn't do anything all day, but it eventually did go off. So if fish are mooching around the margin, there's nobody fishing down that side. We've got 3 anglers opposite us now, obviously Simon to my right, and one guy's gone right down the end. So there's a lot of people on actually. The only bit not being fished is to my left, so it seems stupid not to put a rod back down there. The middle rod, or the right-hander, is still to the island, and I'm sure that will go off at any point, because it seems to be every now and then a fish goes around the island and something happens. Unfortunately, the last couple of hours of our session is alongside a tree surgeon, so you'll have to put up with the chainsaw, I'm afraid, but hopefully you can still hear me fine. Now, as you know, this series is brought to you by CARPology, and in each of these sessions we have a spotlight product to go through, and this session is these alarms, the C-Series Pros. Now, we have done the C-Series before, but these are the updated and improved versions on them, so hence the name Pro. The first most noticeable difference, because the shape and sort of style of them is very much the same as the previous ones, but the actual finish, the texture of them, has got a much nicer rubberized finish rather than just the sort of gloss black that the previous one, or not maybe the gloss black, but a bit more shiny black. There's a bit more matte and a much more lovely tactile feeling to them. So the finish feels a lot nicer, still fully weatherproof and everything like that, and a few differences when it comes to the actual operation of them. Now, turn on and off with the V button, and that also runs you through the volume settings. So at the moment it's on fairly loud, but as you go through, then onto mute. So if you want, you can have them fully muted and synced up with the receiver, so it's just through the receiver onto the Bivy light. I'll get onto it in a second. You can have it that way. If I press it once more, it's going to be on full volume, which is pretty loud, as you can hear. So I'm going to knock it down a couple of settings so it's not too loud if it does go off. Below that, we then have the tone. So a few settings to go through there, similar to what we saw on the previous ones. And we also have sensitivity settings. So as you can see, there's a lot more movement there before I get an indication. So that's a 6 or 7. And then we're back on the most sensitive, which as you can see is a lot more going on. The other thing you may have noticed is when I drop back, there's a little difference in tone. So you've got a lower tone and the LED on the right flashes and then goes solid. And then when you go forward, the left-hand side flashes and then goes solid when it stops. So you've got different tones, whether it's forward take or drop back, which makes it a lot easier to let you know what's going on. If you can't quite see your rods or you've got your receiver on you, it'll be matching up with that as well. Different colors as well, which also syncs up to your receiver. And the last button on these alarms is on the left-hand side, which is your night light. Press that and a little night light in the middle will illuminate. There is also a power out jack, so you can put certain illuminated hangers into these. I haven't got any with me today. That's quite nice. You can have a power out to have illuminated hangers, which will light up when you have a bite. And then we've got the receiver, which you press and hold. You get a single beep and the LEDs will go from left to right. And these were already synced up when I had got them out of the box. So as you can see, if I beep one of the alarms, straight away across. And I've also got this set to vibrate. There's a V button on here, which says a volume, but press and hold, if you might be able to hear if I put it by the mic. That's vibrate off, and press again, vibrate on. But that also does the volume, as you can hear, getting quieter. You can have a mute function, so if you wanted, you can have it so these alarms beep, and your receiver vibrates. I'm going to put that back on and turn it down a little bit. But it's not just the receiver that syncs up to the alarms, the Bivy light does as well. So of course this can be used as a standard Bivy light, but you can also sync it up to the alarm. So if I turn it on, I've already synced these up, but again, it's really, really simple to sync them up. You press and hold the on and the brightness button, and then that opens up the channels. But as you can see, that is now on, but if I beep the alarm, it's flashed up green. If I beep this one, it flashes up red. And again, if I did this one, it would come up with the color of that one as well. On the back is a magnetic plate. You put that on the top of your Bivy, and then it sticks to it like that. And there's also a little hook, which I've now masked with the plate. So if you want to put it inside your Boilies setup like I've got today, you can latch that onto one of the poles under the umbrella. I can't line this back up now, but believe me, there is a fiddly little hook that doesn't want to come out right now that you can latch onto the inside of your Bivy, no problems. So it's quite nice, you can sync all of these up. And the best thing about it all is, let's turn it back off, it comes in different sets. You can get a 2+1 set, a 3+1 set, a 4+1. The 3+1 I've got with me today, it comes in a box like this. It's got the manuals and things in there, so it's not much, not a very big manual because it's not difficult to set up. All the functions are pretty self-explanatory, but it comes in a nice carry case like so. So it's well packaged on its way here, and also if you want to pack it away, you can do. So as you can see, receiver, 3 alarms, the Bivy light, and then the charging cable for the Bivy light. All of that comes in at around £120. So they're really, really good value for money. I've been using these on this session, and they've gone off plenty of times, so I can tell it's doing everything it needs to and let me know I've got a bite. Also let me know when I'm getting that drop back, which is something the previous C-Series didn't have. They're still great alarms. I've still got the old set from the last series in my shed. But if you want to just take that step up to the next level of alarms for I think around an extra £20, £25, then it's definitely worth looking at the C-Series Pro alarms. So that's everything you need to know about them. Do have a look on the website if you want more information, or if you don't need the drop back differentiation tone, maybe still look at the C-Series alarms, the non-pro versions, because they may be more for you if you want to save 20 quid. But I think for that little step up in cost, you're getting a little bit extra, which you will notice the difference as well. So that's everything you need to know there. Hopefully they'll go off again in the last couple of hours of the session. I think Simon's really hoping his goes off as well, because he's done everything he can to try and get a bite this morning. And I kind of want him to as well, because I think it'd be nice to end off the session with a few more fish both ways. Sod's law, the chainsaw stops as I finish. I'm not doing it again.
Right, I was just having a bacon sandwich with Joe.
And don't forget the avocado, I was giving you stick for that.
Bacon and avocado sandwich with Joe. He wasn't having one, I hasten to add. And that rod that I put out on the pop-up has gone, so that paid off. I'm glad I made the change. And it was a yellow one, even though Joe was saying, oh, you've got to use pink because that's the only thing that works. But yeah, the yellow pop-up has gone on the hinge stiff rig, so I'm hoping I'm going to get this one in and it might close the gap, but we've only got about an hour left, Joe, haven't we? So might be a little late to claw it back, but if I get this rod back out quick after this fish, could be chance for a couple more. It feels better than the others, but you just don't know. It might just be an angry one.
That's a pretty one.
One. Happy days.
Comeback's on.
I was getting a few liners, wasn't I? And
Yeah.
stuff, so they'd obviously moved back over to that far side. I don't know whether it's the rig that did it or just the time of day. But either way, it's a fish in the net, so come on. Right. All right, here we go. It's the one I've just had on the hinge stiff rig after swapping over to a pop-up. And obviously, I'm really glad that I did that. Sometimes if you're not catching, it's worth ringing the changes and making it happen. So yeah, only small, £9.14, so nearly a double, but only just missed out on being a double. Absolutely beautiful, scaly dark one on a yellow pop-up. So yeah, Joe telling me to use a pink one.
Oh, I didn't tell you to use it. I said you're not going to take that into account.
So yeah, I've got the rod back out already, so hopefully there's time for a couple more. And yeah, it feels unlikely that I'm going to beat Joe now, but you just never know.
Ooh, 1 minute.
Ooh, feels fairly unlikely anything's going to happen now, doesn't it?
13 seconds.
Yeah.
Suspense. How am I going to clinch it?
I mean, I think so.
And
I'd
that
like to say it was a close one, but
is that 24 hours.
well done, mate.
Rods are still out, of course. We're going to start. I'm going to start packing down. You're staying on for another 24.
Yeah, so I'm going to do another 24 and make a video for my channel. I'm going to compare pop-ups against bottom baits / wafters for winter and see which is the most successful, because I've actually caught on a pop-up now. So
Yeah.
see what happens for my bit of the session.
Yeah. Well, I think we were both hoping that this morning would carry on the same way last night did, just for the fun of fishing. But it's gone really quiet. We've had a few people turn up.
Lots of noise and
Yeah, a lot of
commotion,
noises. It all sounds like excuses, but the fact it stopped after it got busier suggests that the fish just knew something was up and have hidden somewhere. I think probably back of the island's the only place no one's fishing. I think that's the deepest end as well, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah.
So I'm sure if we walked around, you might see some signs of things there, but the rules of the match are to stay where we are, unless you're Ed, of course. In the previous match, he would have moved somewhere, wouldn't he?
But I think, is that the first verses where someone's head hasn't gone? I feel like my head is still there, just.
You kept indicating, you asked me a lot of times, I'm thinking about doing this almost like you wanted me to make the decision for you. Should I try and pop up?
I was just thinking out loud, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, it's been good fun though.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't think we can complain of that many bites this action.
No,
This time of year.
What if you had 9 fish and I've had 3, so it's any time of year that's good, you know, but for February, can't complain really, so
Definitely.
happy days.
It's been an enjoyable little social as well, and once again, thank you to CARPology for sponsoring this series and getting us out on the bank and doing these fun videos. You guys seem to enjoy it, and it's great fun filming them. And of course, remember to look at the C-Series Pro alarms if you like the look of these and want to get your hands on some. For the price point, I really don't think you can grumble at them. You've been using them.
Yeah, they're wicked little
as well.
alarms actually, I quite like them, yeah. So it's nice to have the bivvy light that comes on when you get a bite in the night and stuff, so you can see what you're doing.
Which I forgot about last night. Yeah.
running out in the dark, and then realised this morning, oh yeah, it's the bivvy light. But that's everything for us for now. I think I'm going to slow pack away, so I might get another one before I go. But that's the match concluded. Well fought.
Cheers, mate. Nice one.